sometimes. But I do those things. But it's really to Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert that I turn to get the, and part of the reason they're so great, I've figured this out late, but I think it's true, is that humor is generous and embracing and participatory. And you can laugh your way to a different truth. And earnestness always feels self-righteous. It always feels like, why are you preaching to me? And yet Colbert makes the same point so much better, than the pontificators on either side. I remember when, there's so many examples, recent as well as, but I remember when, what's his name? One of the right-wing commentators was on Colbert, and he said, at some point he said, William Crystal, and he said, I know there weren't any weapons of mass destruction, but we still had to go in there because he was a dictator killing his own people. And of course, I would have immediately gotten in a fight with Crystal, right? But not Colbert. Colbert said, I agree with you, sir. We have every reason to go in there, and we ought to go into Syria. And Crystal, maybe that's possible. And so, no, he didn't say so. And he said, and North Korea. And Crystal, well, I don't know about North Korea. Sir, a dictator killing his own people. And China. And Crystal's like, no. It's so absurd. But it's making it absurd that makes it true, that makes you see the truth of it. And I think if I were butting heads with William Crystal, it'd be a disaster, and you wouldn't learn anything. But Stephen Colbert taking him down the criminal's path, brilliant. And then when you see Jon Stewart going, what's his name? Who did he go on last week or 2 weeks? Jim Kramer. Geez. I mean, it was so great, and I think it was Eric Alterman compared it to Edward R. Murrow taking on the Army McCarthy people. What did he do? He just slammed him, and he just put him in his place, and just shamed him, and same with Tucker Carlson. So he can do that because he's got our confidence, because he's funny, and he couldn't do it if he was just an earnest blowhard like the rest of them. Something beautiful about that. So I don't know. That's a long way around. I'm so incompetent on it. One of the things I do know, and I've seen this in my own family. In my family, we have 3 kids, and the 3 kids are what we call digital natives. Like, they live in that land. And my partner and I are digital immigrants. We speak with an accent. So like Bernadine said to one of them last year, can I do such and such on my computer? And they looked at her like she was from Mars. Do what on your computer? Can I do this? Can I buy things on my computer? Good Lord. It's like, it's just a language that we'll never master, but you will and have, and that's great. I'm going to just do 2 more because you guys are going to all fall out, but we can stick around and talk as long as you like. Yes, sir, and then 2 students, and that'll be it.
I'm just wondering, well, I think the qualification for a lot of organizations that have been organized before. I think a lot of inroads and having success beyond ensuring out voters in elections and political victory. They're trying to basically put a 600 community organizers across the country and build on that. I think, though, a lot of people are a little uncomfortable with the notion of it being part of the DNC and trying to comfortable with the fact that it's basically, approaching a huge party apparatus and
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I think the nervousness about being in the Democratic Party is well placed. I would be nervous if I were in the Democratic Party. And why? Because it's, the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, is not actually a party in the sense that it's neither disciplined nor does it have a political line. It doesn't have any, you don't join the Democratic Party and get disciplined. The Democratic Party is a collection of blocks, and so is the Republican Party. So one of the things you're watching in the Republican Party, and watched since Bush's second election, is the blocks coming apart. The religious bloc, the nutty bloc, the traditional conservative bloc, the neocon bloc, they all fell apart. And they were held together by some magic tape. Well, the same is true of the Democratic Party. So if you go into the Democratic Party, and God help you if you do, but if you do, and I know a lot of people do it, and a lot of you probably are, that's okay. But always maintain your independence. And that's true of any party you would go into, incidentally. If you go into the Communist Party, That is, have a mind of your own and don't allow yourself to kind of drink the Kool-Aid and become a little troop for the indefensible. There are many, many examples of people who've done this. I can point you to one thing I think all of you should read. Is that too professorial? Can I tell you one thing? I'll tell you what the hell. You should all read Edward Said's brilliant book, Representations of the Intellectual. I know, it's a clumsy title. I told him you should call it Sex, Drugs, and the Intellectual. But I got an audience. It's a tiny little book, Representations of the Intellectual. It's his lectures on the BBC about 10 years ago. And what he argues there is that it's the responsibility of intellectuals, and he means a pretty broad definition of what that is. It includes students and teachers. The responsibility is to maintain an independent line in your own head, to never, ever bow down to the orthodoxy of whatever party you're a part of. And Said is a great example, when he's read honestly, he's a great example of a contradiction that's hard for anybody to imagine doing. The Palestinian people never had a greater champion than Edward Said, and the Palestinian leadership never had a harsher critic. And there's something pretty wonderful about that. If you think about it, to defend humanity and hate the idiots who are, kind of running humanity to the ground, that's pretty sweet. So I would say if you go to the Democratic Party, maintain one part of yourself in the anti-war movement, in the peace movement, in the environmental movement. I think that's really important. You had something else to say.
Yes, I'm from Chicago, and I work for Commonwealth Edison.
That's a great company once.
Well, the time your father ran it, and you were active in your underground activities, of course, caused your father great embarrassment and compromised his ability to run a good company.
Do you think?
Well, I know because I experienced it.
I thought he ran the country company.
What was your relationship with your father, and how did you compromise things?
For those of you who don't know, my father was the chairman of Commonwealth Edison. He was the youngest president of Commonwealth Edison. Commonwealth Edison was the electric monopoly. I guess you guys have it in Southern California. What's it called?
That's inconsequential.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't matter. That's inconsequential.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm just telling people so you don't know what your reference is. So my dad was the chairman of Commonwealth Edison, and when Martin Luther King came to Chicago, my father was the chief negotiator between King, Daley, and the real estate boards. And every day I was marching in Cicero with King, and then I'd go home and talk to my dad at dinner. It was kind of sweet. And my father, of course, disagreed with a lot of things I did, but you can look up an interview he did with Connie Chung in 1996, in which he defended me pretty unequivocally. And he was, he was like a lot of parents. He didn't agree with what I did. Certainly, we never saw eye to eye politically. At the end of his life, we had huge differences about gay rights. Until I kept saying to him, if any guy wants to marry you, Dad, I'll defend you, But my dad developed dementia. My mother did first and lived with me, and then my father moved in and lived with me for the last 5 years of his life. And we were very, very close. And we were a very close family. Certainly the years I was underground, we didn't see each other. But when I came back above ground, his first comment to me was, I had hair about the length of your hair, and his first comment to me was, damn, you need a haircut. I thought, holy shit, 11 years I haven't seen the guy. And the first thing he worded is such a parental thing. It's so sweet. But I would say we were very, very close. Most all of our lives except for that 10 years, which was pretty rough. And I felt, I felt a lot of, I felt bad for both of my parents, but they weathered it somehow. And we remained close. Generous guy. Yes, I had two in the back, and then I'm going to